Are you struggling to balance your business and IBD management? Do you want to know how successful female entrepreneurs manage their time effectively? If you're curious about simple time management hacks that can boost your health and productivity, then this is the episode for you. Today, I'll share 7 practical tips tailored specifically for busy female entrepreneurs dealing with IBD. You'll learn how to prioritize and delegate tasks, integrate self-care into your schedule, and use technology to your advantage. Plus, we'll talk about the magic of meal prepping and the power of setting boundaries. So, grab a cup of mushroom coffee or your water and get ready to discover how you can master your time and take better care of your health. Let's go. Hey there, busy entrepreneurs. I'm Wendy Handy, and you're tuned in to Gut Fix. It's your ultimate guide to conquering IBD, fatigue, chronic stress, and reclaiming your vitality. Get ready to unlock a treasure trove of insights from diet hacks to stress relief strategies and dive deep into the fascinating world of how hormones affect your gut health. It's all about decoding the messages your body sends, so you can bid farewell to IBD and digestive issues for good. So, take a breather from the hustle and bustle. Let's give your gut a high five, and together, let's embark on this transformative journey. Are you ready? Let's dive into today's episode. Hey, welcome back to another episode. And so today's topic about time management is not something that is new for the busy female business owner or entrepreneur. But when you're dealing with and managing IBD, there are certain nuances to it, right? And so when I think back to prior to my being diagnosed, selling real estate in high volume, I can remember that when I think back, I was trying to fit in my IBD management into my schedule, into my business schedule life. And quite honestly, that didn't work too well. And so then fast forward after I was diagnosed, then I was seeing a holistic doctor up in Jacksonville, Florida, and driving 3 hours, having vitamin infusions. And I can remember her telling me that I needed to, when I was exhausted in the afternoon, that I needed to go home in the afternoon and take a nap. And I told my coach at the time, my business coach, I can't be doing that. I can't go home in the middle of the afternoon and take a nap. And that's when I'm going on appointments, right? And that's my busy time. And I can't be, driving up there 3 days a week. It's just not going to fit in my schedule. Then I only have 2 days during the week that I can be working. And I remember him saying to me, so wait, let me get this straight. You are paying someone to tell you how to get well, and you're not going to take the advice. And I thought, maybe he's right. So that's when we went to work to figure out, how do we do this? How do we manage this? So that brings me to tip number 1, and that is prioritizing and delegating your day. And so what I would encourage you to do is write down all of the things that you do in a day. I mean, everything in a work day, that is. And so whether it's answering emails or answering social media DMs or going on appointments or making phone calls or setting appointments or whatever it is for you, write everything down and then look at those tasks and figure out which of those tasks are ones that only you can do and that are your, money-making activities, right, that are going to bring in new business. And the rest of the things that can be delegated, think about, who could I delegate that to? And that could be if you've got a VA, or if you've got a virtual assistant, or if you've got an assistant, or if you've even got teenage kids that you could give some of these tasks to, like social media, for example. But figuring out what you either A, don't like to do or not good at, or are not really bringing you money in, or they're just kind of managing the business, then figure out how you can delegate that to somebody else. So for example, in my business, I had to be the one to go on the appointments, right? I was the only one that could go on those appointments. And the other things, like even returning phone calls or answering emails, were not things that I personally had to do. So I delegated those. So then tip number 2 is making sure that you schedule time for self-care. And, this is oftentimes just in life anyway, as females, we tend to put our own priorities last. And when you're dealing with IBD, self-care is so critically important to managing it, because if you're not giving yourself the proper nutrition, the proper rest, the proper exercise, the proper time to recoup, then you're not going to manage it very well. And so it is critically important. So, block out time for eating properly. And it doesn't have to be a big long time to take a lunch break, right? It could be 30 minutes. And if you're prepared and you're ready to go, you can take that 30 minutes, be mindful while you're eating. So don't just eat on the run, right? Actually sit down, enjoy your meal, maybe do a little bit of deep breathing prior to, and enjoy your 30 minutes of downtime, not answering emails, not looking at texts, not being totally focused on what you're doing and being present in the moment. The mindfulness eating, and also time for exercise. So whether it's, me personally, if I don't do it in the morning, I just, for whatever reason, I don't do it. I don't like, I guess because I have the most energy for myself in the morning. But make sure that you put that in your schedule. And again, it could be a 30-minute walk. It could be, in the middle of the day. It could be in the middle of the afternoon, whatever works for you, but just making sure that you actually schedule that time. And the impact of, these self-care appointments, you want to make sure that you prioritize that as important as your business meetings, because they are that important, and even more, because if you don't have your health, let's face it, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be going on appointments. You're not going to be as productive at work. And so really, putting work prior to anything else, and those goals, which are important, or you wouldn't have set them in the first place. Yet if you're not healthy, it doesn't matter. You won't reach them. So, make sure that you schedule that self-care time. And the third tip is meal prep and planning. And, making sure that you have, whether it's full, breakfasts, lunches, dinners prepared, or even just scheduled, is going to help you to make better choices overall, not grab those unhealthy convenience foods when you're in a hurry, but making sure that you have everything done. And one of the tips that I learned along the way here was that when you pick a day of the week that you can solely focus on your meal prep, whether it's, for me, it's on a Sunday, but you want to pick a day that is, probably the least busy for you, and that you can actually, wash and cut your vegetables, wash and cut your fruit, I like to prepare little egg cups for breakfast and pop them in the refrigerator and some in the freezer. That way I can grab them when I, and just, heat them up or let them get to room temperature and go ahead and eat them. But when you take that time to actually prepare and do your food prep and planning and know what you're going to eat ahead of time, that really does reduce that reliance on those unhealthy, the convenience foods that are full of ultra processed foods that are not good for anybody, but certainly not for managing IBD. And then tip number 4 would be, using that technology and tools. And so there are so many things that you can help with the time management portion of it. And that is, using calendar apps and reminders on your phone for when you have important things that you need to do, like your self-care. And some, you can even use apps for guided meditation or stress relief exercises. I like to listen to, I like the app Headspace for that. And because technology can really help you streamline and incorporate not only what you need to do in your business and your important tasks, but also your wellness breaks. And then tip number 5, and this is a huge one, and that is to set boundaries. So pick the hours that you want to be at work and that you plan to be at work, whether you work from home or whether you go to an office, but make sure that you put those hours in, whether it's 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 or 10 to 3, whatever your hours are that you are going to be at work, set those in there and set those boundaries and make sure that everybody knows what those boundaries are, whether it's your team or your clients or your family, that these are the hours I'm going to be working and these are the hours that I'm going to be available to be with the family. And, also not only setting those boundaries, but learning to say no to those non-essential tasks or meetings. That's huge when you're setting your boundaries and setting up your schedule for the day. And then tip number 6 would be to batch those similar tasks. So what I mean by that is when you have things that are, whether it's answering emails or social media DMs, right? Maybe you're going to block 30 minutes in the middle of the day or at the end of the day, but put those together in one task. And so group the similar things together so that you're kind of on a roll, right? So if you're answering emails or answering DMs or whatever you're doing, it's a similar task, so you're kind of on a roll. And that's also going to improve your focus and your efficiency because you're not, bouncing back from task to task and, from going on appointments to answering emails to then, setting appointments to returning phone calls and just all over the place. And then tip number 7 is to create a very realistic schedule for yourself and be very honest about what your daily tasks are, how much time it's going to take to do each one of those tasks, and then make sure you have a little bit of a buffer in there. And so I used to like to schedule some, I called it screw off time, but just time that if I had to go run an errand, a personal errand, or if I had to, or if I just wanted to go do something fun, I had some time there that I could use for screw off time or whatever you want to call that. But that also helps when it prevents you from overscheduling or becoming too rigid with your schedule, and it reduces the stress overall. So again, the 7 tips for mastering your time management, just to recap, are to prioritize and delegate your time. Remember that, there are certain tasks that only you can do, but there are also certain tasks that you don't need to do or that are not a priority every day. And then tip number 2, just make sure that you take care of you, because if you're not healthy, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to be productive. You're not going to reach those goals. Your health is your number 1 priority. And then number 3 is that meal prepping and planning time, making sure you pick a day of the week that is generally your least busy day, that you can prepare meals ahead of time. You can plan what you're going to have so that you're not eating those unhealthy foods. And then tip number 4 is using the technology and tools. There are so many of them out there, whether it's apps or on your desktop, on your computer, that you can keep track of things. You can get notifications. You can have reminders. So using that, and also for your meditation, like I said, using Headspace or something like that, so that you can take that downtime and take care of you. And then tip number 5, that's setting those boundaries, making sure that everybody knows what those boundaries are and sticking to them. If you're going to work, if you say you're going to work from 9 to 5, at 5 o'clock, you're done with work and you're now home with the family. And then tip number 6 is making sure that when you are, making your schedule and sort of time blocking, that you are batching similar tasks together so that you're not darting all over the place and back and forth, and that becomes unproductive and inefficient. And then tip number 7 is to create that realistic schedule for yourself. So be honest with your time, your daily tasks, how much it's going to take. Make sure that there's a buffer in there so that you're not overscheduling, and that will help reduce the stress. And make sure during the week that you do have a little bit of that screw off time, as I call it. So that you can go do something in the middle of the day if you need to go run a personal errand. So I hope that this was helpful and you found some value in today's call. Come back next week. We're going to jump back into the role of exercise in managing IBD. See you soon. Hey there, thanks for tuning in. I hope this episode provided you with some valuable insights and tips. If you learned something new, I'd truly appreciate it if you would leave me a review, subscribe, and share it with another entrepreneur that you think might find it valuable. Don't forget to shoot me a DM over on Instagram at @CoachWendyHandy. See you in the next episode, and until then, stay happy and stay healthy.